Running a business in Philadelphia takes a lot. It takes strong relationships, unique insight, and inspired leadership. It takes staying in the know and making the most of every opportunity. Everything it takes is everything you'll find at CCPA. A resource for business support, a chance to hear from experts in their field and get up close and personal with city leaders. An insider's guide to what's happening and what's next in Philadelphia. With CCPA, business is personal.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all here today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Suzette Munley, the president of CCPA. So I hope everyone has had a great summer and I was going to say, enjoying the beautiful fall weather, with the exception of today. It's been quite beautiful. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to wish happy birthday to Megan Tokarczak, our services coordinator. Thank you for all you do behind the scenes, Megan, and we hope you have a wonderful day today. So to tell you a little bit about us, CCPA is an intimate and diverse group of business owners, executives, and managers looking to build relationships and offer each other meaningful resources. We take pride in bringing you unparalleled access to speakers, decision makers, and leaders who are shaping Center City. We keep our members and guests informed about business challenges and opportunities in Philadelphia. So let's take a minute and touch on the benefits of becoming a member, a sponsor, or collaborating with CCPA. We think it's easiest to remember as being Center City Smart. We have signature events where you get the inside scoop on development, sustainability, exceptional women leaders, and the city's movers and shakers. There are marketing opportunities available only to members and sponsors, enabling you to reach thousands of businesses and consumers. You have access to our speakers and panelists in a way few organizations can deliver. That up-close, intimate, and personal experience of a CCPA event is like no other. You can reimagine employee benefits available to members through Penworth Financial Services, and you can take the lead with opportunities to build your network, grow your business, and be a CCPA ambassador. So if you'd like to join today, there's a link posted in the chat. And now to mark your calendars for our upcoming events, they are posted now on your screen, so please take note of those. A special call out to our next Lunch with City Leaders with Philadelphia's Police Commissioner, Danielle Outlaw, on October 28th. And next week, we have our third Sustainable Philadelphia event about Philly's urban conservation initiatives. These events have been extremely informative and timely, so if you haven't attended one yet, I highly encourage you to do so. After that, we are in person for our next two events, and it feels amazing to say that. Meet the Developers and Women Changing the City, and we can't wait to see everyone in person. So for today's event, we encourage you to use the chat to ask questions and comment and connect with each other, and you can also find a link to today's program there. I'd like to acknowledge our sustaining sponsor and our preferred benefits provider, Michael Craig of Penworth Financial Services. And Lunch with City Leaders is made possible by Citizens Bank and our sponsors, Arsenal Media Works, Community College of Philadelphia, Friedman LLP, KYW News Radio, Lev Lane, Post Brothers, and Visit Philadelphia. And today we have a special guest sponsor, the law firm of Larson and Schuritzel, PC, thanks to Elizabeth Larson and her team there. Now, to say a few words and introduce our speaker, please welcome Dan Fitzpatrick, President of Citizens Bank Mid-Atlantic Region.
Suzette, hey, thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone, and thank all the sponsors that make this possible. I'll tell you, Citizens Bank, we're really so proud to support this series and glad we've been able to do it and keep it going virtually, as these exchanges are so critical as we work as a city and a region to move forward past this pandemic time. And again, for Citizens Bank, we are waist deep in invested in the city of Philadelphia, particularly Center City, Philadelphia. New branches being developed all the time, new financial centers, continuous investment in the communities on housing and so many other fronts, particularly a lot of work around education and workforce development. So again, as the city of Philadelphia goes, so goes Citizens Bank. So we are all deeply invested in this, as you are, and thank you all for your support. And it really is truly an honor to introduce today's featured speaker, Jeff Brown, who is a friend and just such a dynamic leader. But you know, as you see in the bio, he's the founder and president and CEO of Brown Superstores, 12-store supermarket chain trading under both banners ShopRite and the Fresh Grocer. But you know, the bottom line is, you know, Jeff can talk about the challenges and the rewards of running a grocery store business, but it's what Jeff does as a civic leader that is really incomparable. As again, he chairs the state of Pennsylvania's Workforce Development Board. He's also on the Philadelphia Youth Network Board. He's a founder of and chairman of Uplift Solutions, his own national not-profit organization that operates workforce systems for returning citizens and food rescue systems for food businesses. Again, he's done so many different things. And just to know how distinguished Jeff Brown is, in 2010, Mr. Brown had the honor of being chosen as a guest of the First Lady, Michelle Obama, at President Obama's State of the Union address in recognition of his work in solving the food desert crisis. So again, no one has done more to reduce the food deserts in our lower income communities of Philadelphia and this region, as well as nationally, than Jeff Brown. I had the good fortune of, as I was beginning my civic leadership, I went to now Congressman Dwight Evans, who's a friend, said, what do we really need to make a difference in the community, and how can my bank help? And he said, food deserts. We've got to fix this. And as you think about future, and again, it got me to get to know Jeff Brown at that time. And I'm talking about a time frame of about 17, 18 years ago. It is such an important issue. When you think about Commissioner Danielle Outlaw as the next guest in the city of Philadelphia, and what we all need as businesses and residents that love and love this city is we need the city to be safe. We need our people to be well fed with nutritious diets, and we need everyone to be educated and given that fair, true opportunity to have enjoy the American dream. So Jeff Brown leads on so much of those parts of really ending our poverty situation in Philadelphia. But so I apologize. I just think so much of Jeff Brown. I had to go on a little bit there, but without further ado, let me introduce our keynote speaker here, Jeff Brown.
Thank you, Dan. And it's a mutual admiration. A lot of the things I do, I think the people are deciding between Dan or I. I think Dan is their first choice, but I'm their backup option. So I appreciate everything Dan's done, and I could speak just as longer about him. But I want to jump right into it. And today, through the lens as a grocer, I want to talk about some things we've done in our business, but you'll see they connect to modern day challenges. And I guess as a theme, if we keep on doing what we've always done, we're going to keep on getting a result that I don't think we're that happy with. And I think if you love this city and we want to make this city work, I think we're going to have to consider some different options, because the last couple of years have been difficult for all of us, and our problems seem to be stacking up. And so through the lens of my experience as a grocer, hopefully we can dig into some of this. And like Dan said, Dwight Evans was really one of the first to say to me, we have this food access problem. Underprivileged people of color don't have access to healthy food. And, we had worked together in a public-private partnership to open stores in food deserts. And ultimately, it did become very successful. And I did have occasion to work with both Obamas, especially Michelle Obama, and basically use our work here in Philadelphia to develop a national model to solve this problem. But what's interesting about it is my business serves some very underprivileged folks, but also serves some suburban or in some cases even a little upper income folks. So I have a wide range of customers, and here in Philadelphia, about 175,000 households buy their groceries from my stores, from the very, very lowest income people in the city to people that are maybe middle or middle upper income. And we, as a grocer, we spend a lot of time in the stores and we talk to people. And I hear a lot of thoughts. And, a lot of thoughts contradict each other, and sometimes we don't contradict each other. They're common themes. During my remarks today, I'm going to try to share some things I've learned along the way, perspectives from different people. So I want to zero in on a little bit about the pandemic that I think would be useful. But, the pandemic, none of us could have planned for such a thing. I mean, we heard that there was a possibility, but we certainly didn't expect to go through what we went through the last 2 years. And one of the things I was concerned about, besides, getting merchandise from all over the world was very disrupted, I was really concerned about the small businesses. What I was concerned about is that if the small businesses couldn't open for an extended period of time, would they stay in business? And what would our city be like if our businesses did not stay in business? And some colleagues and I got together and we started the PA 30-Day Fund. And we raised $3.7 million. And we had given financial assistance in the form of a $3,000 grant to somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100 businesses. And what we would do is the board of directors would call the businesses at night to tell them they got the funding. And we would ask the businesses, is there something more we could do to help you in this difficult time? And I have to tell you, it was a very life-altering experience to hear people's pressure and financial struggles of not being able to open their business or pay their bills, basically have nothing coming in. And I know a lot of people on the phone went through that and were very unsure of their future. And in some cases, people were telling me stories about their credit card bills stacking up, their second mortgages, and I just was forever altered by the human suffering involved in the pandemic, and of course, in some cases, the loss of life. And so what I want to tell you about, which I think is an interesting way this developed, is I would focus on Philly people. This was a statewide initiative, and I called back Philly businesses. And in the process of calling them and asking them, is there anything more I could do to help you? Some of them said, well, I can't operate my business, but I might be able to do business with you or operate my business in one of your stores. And I started to mentor some of the people I called, and it started to grow very rapidly. And if you follow what we do, we started to open other people's restaurants and other people's businesses inside our grocery stores. And today we have about 150 businesses like that. Philadelphia businesses, Philadelphia small entrepreneurs. And of course, I can't mentor all of those businesses. So I had to hire someone from PepsiCo to run it for me. And we have a small business incubator that we run out of our business today, just for the good of society. And we started to find out, and I think this gives me a lot of hope, that a lot of small businesses of color, they are awesome. They see unmet opportunities. They have ideas, very innovative ideas. And what an exciting joy to work with these small businesses. And yeah, we had to teach them about things they didn't know, like insurance and setting up your proper corporate structure, use a commercial bank account, things of that nature, but things that were not heavy lifts. And the innovation, flowed into our business. And so very normally now on the weekends or on busy days of the week, these 150 different businesses are doing pop-ups or actually have small businesses in our business. And it really has opened up a faucet of innovation. Because, as my business has gotten bigger, it is harder to innovate as a big business. Even my business has somewhat of a chain of command, although we're flatter than most. And so these young starting businesses really have had a lot of great ideas. And I want to say that it's really helped my business grow at a tough time because my customers are excited to see some of these things happen. And so I thought that was a great outcome. And I'm looking to see some of these businesses become bigger businesses in the future. The next thing I want to talk about is we really have quite a crisis of violence in our city. And I don't think anyone has all the answers for it, but when I first started opening stores in food deserts, the very first location I opened in Southwest Philly was a supermarket that closed due to repeated incidents of gun violence. And so back almost 20 years ago, we decided we just don't want to blame the police or blame the politicians. We want to try to do something about it. And we had organized a process of buying up guns in the community that we call Goods for Guns. And, you know, it's almost 20 years we've been buying guns. We've bought an enormous number of guns. We do it in partnership with the police. And, you know, I don't know that there will ever be an academic study to suggest that this is a significant answer to the problem. But it's hard to explain to people that have their children accidentally murdered. It's hard to explain that nobody has any ideas to do better in this area. And so I feel like it was a tangible program that people could rally behind, that it certainly couldn't hurt anything. And we've literally bought thousands of guns. We give them to the police and the police destroy them. And they do check to make sure that they weren't involved in a crime. And, you know, we've really picked up our gun buyback program since the surge of violence. And we pretty much have a gun buyback in 2 different neighborhoods of the city monthly. And we've done it straight through. We've had these buybacks. And so I think it's just an innovative way to make a difference. It's not the complete solution, but we're trying to do something to give people hope that we'll get through this. And I think the next thing, I mean, I am chairman of the State Workforce Board and Dan's chairman of Philly Works. And, you know, as we get around, we are hearing from absolutely everyone that runs anything that it's really, really difficult to get out. And, you know, I know if you have a lower paying jobs, you can't get, that just doesn't exist today. There's very little applicant flow. And I know a lot of businesses have increased their starting wages, but we have always focused in my company on people that were harder to hire, or that most businesses would be less apt to give them a chance. And I think we're at a time where some of these ideas are worth consideration for your operations as well. And I do think it has a direct connection to the violence problem that we have, because if you give someone a chance that wouldn't ordinarily have a chance, it reduces the risk that they might get involved in something they shouldn't. And so I've always felt that a good hiring practice is good public safety. And so, you know, we have a number of areas where we've innovated in this area. And I know we have certain slots for handicapped individuals and the military. We're fairly well known about returning citizens or the formerly incarcerated. We have a fairly significant number of employees in that area that have really done well with us and have grown into management positions. And, you know, the alternative is, if they didn't get a job, what would they be doing? And what impact would that have on society? And, you know, as I've gotten older and I've gotten more acquainted with the LGBTQ challenges, I've sort of brought our company along and tried to become more sensitive to issues, especially in the younger community, where they're very, very sensitive about the words you use and gender identity. And I think there's an education that I was unaware of until I started to focus on that. And I think there is a lot of employment opportunities in those communities that I think are an opportunity for all of us. And I think it has a double benefit in that we are struggling to get employees. And so we need to sort of think outside the box to address that challenge. In the same token, I think if someone was generally excluded from employment, the possibility of employment really could change their trajectory and our community. And so I think some openness in that area is a good idea. One of the things I've done for 17 years, I was on the board of Philadelphia Youth Network. And I was the chairman for the last 6 years. And Philadelphia Youth Network is the workforce system of underprivileged youth in the city. And during my time there, we had found summer interns or other employment opportunities for 200,000 underprivileged youth. And if there's something that goes down in my mind of good things that I accomplished. Those 200,000 young people, I feel really good about that. And I know some of them went to work for Dan, went to work for me, and went to work for a lot of other businesses in the city. And, as next summer comes about, it might be something that you want to look into, because they start out as young people, and yes, they're not very productive, and we have to put some energy in to help them. But I'm pretty sure the 200,000 people that Penn helped over my 17 years there, I'm pretty sure they weren't the ones that were a violence problem. They were the ones that had a higher chance to go to college. They had a higher chance to get long-term employment at a decent wage, because their early work experiences set them in the right direction. And the sad news is every year we did not have enough resources at Penn to help every young person that applied. And so there's probably 175 to 200,000 young people we didn't have the resources to help, or we couldn't find the jobs, the placement in jobs for them. And I'm pretty sure that therein lies our safety challenge, because they were in a sense neglected. They wanted to work, but we couldn't create opportunities for them. And I think as the business community, this is an area where we really can play a part. And that, to be honest, government can't solve this on their own, because most of the jobs are in the private sector. And I do think even if it's one young person, it's a really good thing to get involved in Philadelphia Youth Network. I've gotten a lot out of it. The other thing is I have noticed that all of us have embraced various technologies and ways to get more done with the amount of help we have. And we've done that too. And I think if you're in our stores, you'll see more self-service technology, more kiosks, and more things to help the consumer help themselves, why it's harder to get the help you need. And more online. I think all of us had to embrace an online situation. So in my thinking, when I reflect on this, and I reflect on the difficult couple of years we've had, and the sort of the problems we're having now with violence, with education, even daily services of the city, like picking up our trash and cleaning the streets, I really do think that it's going to require some teamwork together and some really different thinking. And if I could leave you with a thought on that, I don't know if anyone's followed Yo Favorite Trash Man. He was a sanitation worker, a young man, very creative. And he started a social media program to raise money to get PPE for sanitation workers, which he felt didn't have adequate sanitation gear. And, he's become a phenomenon. And Terrell is his real name. And I have been working together on a technology to sort of democratize the cleaning of the city, in which we would take people who are interested in cleaning and give them a reward for cleaning up a neighborhood. And companies could sponsor that. They could sponsor a block or a neighborhood. And so there's really no city resources being used. It's technology and just an innovative approach. And so that may not solve us being a filthy city, but I think that sort of thinking differently, thinking innovatively, working as a team, not assuming that the government can solve it all on its own, assuming that we'll need to take a part, I think is an example or a path forward for us. And I think a lot of the challenges that we have, we could meet the challenges. And I know we all love the city. I certainly love the city and my time I spend here, and I love the people. And I really think that we should be focusing on what can we do to have a path forward for our city and our citizens. And I would love to work with you on that. So I want to spend some time for question and answer. So I will open it up, and I'll try to answer anything that's asked of me.
Okay, I'll start with one in the chat, and then if people want to ask questions, they can post them there or raise your hand or unmute. Jeff, what has been city government's receptivity to innovative ideas, especially to support and encourage small business?
So I kind of have this feeling that businesses in the city, we're not looked at like we should be looked at, and the city has not been receptive to ideas. And I think Dan sort of alluded to it. I think our voice is not heard as business people in the city, and I think that's something we need to work on. And I think it's one of the problems, because I think my personal experiences with proprietors and business people in the city is they are willing to help out. And I think they would be willing to help out. And sometimes the problems that the city creates for us hurts the city because it affects employment and it affects taxes and revenue generation. And so I think that is on the list of things we need to do better in. Whatever you feel about businesses, we are a necessity for the success of our city, and we should have a seat at the table and be part of our future. And I don't think we have that proper seat right now.
Marty, if you want to
Sure.
go ahead.
Great. Jeff, good to see you. Your path has crossed with mine on many occasions, from the co-op to some workforce issues. I'm going to address workforce now today. We're finding ourselves in this incredible dilemma of a retail environment and all segments of business that is so challenged with workforce. And there's been a lot of efforts and parties at the table, but there's no kind of integrated program that I see coming from anybody. And I know you and I have spoken before about re-entry programs as well. So I just don't know what's needed to integrate the efforts in workforce development and workforce sourcing that all of us are facing. And I think it's really an area that the city should be in a leadership role in, or any agency and organization should, but I still find it suffering considerably. I'd be really interested in your thoughts, and especially related as well to re-entry.
Yeah, I think, you know, I know something about the complexity of the workforce system, and I know Dan does as well. But the federal government lays out some very complex set of rules to do this work, and it's very cumbersome. In the same token, many people on this call, I'm sure, don't take full advantage of what does exist at Philly Works, and I think we should. They have job posting boards, and I think that'd be helpful. But the real answer, Marty, is the right way to do workforce is we need customized training programs to take people that live in poverty, especially structural poverty, that they've been there a long time, young people that have not graduated high school, and we need to have customized training programs for specific industries in which there's a deeper relationship and the nonprofit understands what the business needs and trains specifically for that, and takes away the screening process and the you know, a lot of these training programs, like at Uplift, we have a training program. It's a 6-week program. So someone has to make it through full-time 6 weeks. Now we know they're probably going to be a much better employee because they made it through a 6-week program. And so I think we have to move from sort of a mass production model of nonprofit training with no job in mind to a mass customization model where nonprofits are specifically training for businesses. They know how they want them to be oriented. They know what skills they have, and basically don't hand them over to the business until they've been properly prepared to work. And I think the question you asked, Marty, was so important because we have the worst possible scenario in that we have a massive number of unemployed people and we have a massive number of openings in our company.
And poverty.
It's really quite a horrible problem. And I think mass customization is the answer. And I think we need to change our thinking in workforce to invest in people that are committed to that.
Right.
Oh, so I
Hey,
have
Jeff, the only thing I'd add in such an important topic is career awareness has to start at a much earlier age.
right.
So we're working with the School District of Philadelphia is get started around the 6th and 7th grade. Young people need to know what these opportunities are, because too often times we're getting into sophomore, junior year of high school with no direction, no thought of that there's any opportunity for them. And then they're off on the wrong path. We've got to get the young people earlier let them know there's really good career paths available to them. And to your good point, specialization keeps coming in, and can we get to young people sooner, to their parents and to those young people, so that they know there is hope, there is opportunity in the city. But if they're not aware of it, then we're nowhere, right?
Yeah, I agree with Dan completely. And matter of fact, people that were very, very smart way before Dan and I's time made it a law. It's 329 that requires school districts to have career readiness programs and to teach young people about career possibilities. And in Philadelphia, we really aren't doing very much of that. And we're not really following that law. And so there is tremendous amount of materials, and we could use technology. And I do agree that it should start very early. And we would need in the school level, it may be no later than middle school level. We need to look at a young person's credentials, what they're good at, and expose them to what kind of careers those kind of talents match up to, and start changing their curriculum to match a job. Because, 40% of Philadelphia school children drop out, and that's an improvement. It was 60% at one time. And I'm pretty sure the 40%, we did not convince them that there's an opportunity for them in school. And so we really haven't been consumer driven. I call it consumer driven. We haven't focused on the young person, their ability and what they want to do with their life and what jobs that match up to. And I think there is a lot of opportunity to do better in that area.
Suzanne, did you have a question I want to add?
Well, so yeah, I was going to bring up the issue of some kind of integrative program with the public schools as early as middle school, and to, in a way, other than educating them as to what opportunities are available to them in the business sector, perhaps having people from the business sector come to speak, either virtually or however we want to do it at this point, so they can actually see somebody who is involved in that particular job in the business sector. And I agree, as early as middle school, because if there's nothing that piques their interest beyond middle school, then you have the dropouts. So they do have to see the opportunities that are available to them through education, through some integrative process. And as I said, individuals who are involved in those jobs, speaking to them about the opportunities that being involved in that job has presented to them.
Yeah, Susan, you're 100% correct. And school districts around the country that have been more linked to business, have customized curriculum for jobs in mind, have had a much higher level of success. And I might add, for a person who's not going to college, their SAT score is not, in their minds, relevant to their success. But what they might be more interested in is how much can they make their first year out of school with the job they're looking at. And that would really motivate them. And I think we have some changing in our thinking, and changing in that, depending on what the young person wants to do, the measurement should be different.
There was a question about job fairs. Do you know how many are in the Philadelphia area, or how many you're relevant to?
Yeah, I mean, in our HR team, we go to a lot of job fairs. There are a lot. There are a lot of job fairs. A lot of them are advertised on social media. There's a lot of nonprofits that do that work. Temple has job fairs. And I think to be dialed into the job fair world is a smart thing to do. But the flow is definitely not what it used to be, the flow of applicants.
Does anybody want to unmute and ask a question? There's a wealth of knowledge here.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment that for the longest time, I'm a huge Jeff Brown fan. And Jeff sees, particularly Black and brown people, Jeff sees them as assets and of value where most opportunities lie. Those people see Black and brown people as criminals and disposable. And Jeff has proven there's value in people regardless of their color. So Jeff has been the biggest proponent of returning citizens. He was one of the only companies in the city that was taking advantage of the tax credit that the city offered. And to be undervalued and devalued is horrible for a business that is proven in terms of what he can do in turning around a community just through a supermarket. Who would think that a supermarket operator could bring this much value to some of the poorest communities in Philadelphia? When we had civil unrest last year and the devastation that happened at his supermarket, Jeff didn't decide to close down and leave Philadelphia because people didn't know how to act and didn't appreciate him. He stood right there at 52nd and Jefferson, made a commitment, and even up on Fox Street where the same thing happened. And so people in the community love Jeff, and yet the larger business community kind of doesn't see him. So it's great to have everyone who's on this call today. Jeff really leads the way. He really is making an impact. And so I work at PIDC, and I know the number of years that I've talked to Jeff, tried to get PIDC to make sure that we were supporting what he does, simply because he is so supportive and effective and impactful in some of the poorest communities in Philadelphia. So Jeff, keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully a call like this gets the attention of other people and you start to lead the way because your models have worked.
Thanks, Marla. I'm a fan of you as well. I do want to talk about diversity for a second in employment. And I want to talk about it from a business opportunity standpoint. As we all know, and I think every single one of us could attest to the difficulty in hiring. And my workforce today is 19% Caucasian, which means I'm 81% not Caucasian. And my stores, although we are struggling to get every position filled, I don't think we have the vacancies that a lot of my competitors have. And I think one of the reasons that I've have a relatively better situation is we have learned to be a good employer to more people, more different kind of people. And Marla talked about people of color, but if you're a person of color and you are applying for a job in a place that doesn't understand people of color, it's not a welcoming place and you won't want to work there. And so I think there's effort as employers we have to make, whether it's LGBTQ, like I talked about, or African-American people or Latino people. I think there's a certain learning we need to understand culturally relevant things, and or Muslim. We have a very large amount of Muslim employees. We really had to understand things to be successful at that. And I think we're at a point in time where it's really incumbent upon us to have a deeper cultural understanding so we can be a good employer, so we can staff our businesses, and so we can serve our customers. And I think the same is true of the customers. We're in a very diverse city, and I do think there are business opportunities to be more culturally aware, to make sure you're serving everyone. And I think it's true of Center City like it is of all the neighborhoods.
Let me try and combine a couple from chat. There was a question about trades being appropriately represented to students, I guess for help with finding employees. But also, Jeff, when you talk about other business leaders about encouraging youth, what kind of resistance do you face? How do you overcome the assumptions that the kind of programs you have implemented can be broadly accepted?
So youth really, most of my employees love it when we have interns and young people. Most of us sort of get some joy out of helping a young person grow. I have gotten some resistance on some of the things that I wanted to do. It took time for my team to get used to it. But the young people come in, and from a strictly money standpoint, of course, they haven't worked before and they're not familiar with working, and they need to learn. And so they're not particularly productive at first. But you know what's interesting? A lot of the young people that we give internships with end up staying with us because we taught them about work, and my team befriended them, and they're like advisors and mentors to them. And there is a lot of joy on both sides. The people that mentor the young people and the young people being mentored, in some cases they don't have a lot of love in their lives and they need encouragement and love. And there's joy giving and receiving with young people. And I've also found, interestingly enough, the same's true with all the marginalized people we work with. And one of the keys to being successful with returning citizens or any other marginalized group, they experience a lot of difficulties in their lives. And to feel part of a team, to be shown a little love and encouragement, to have someone to talk to about problems is really a big deal to them. And I think we have a very loyal and dedicated team that at this point, we all are believers in this. It's like part of our mission. And I think that every business would benefit from a process of being intentional about a mission, intentional about lifting people up as part of your employment.
Okay, Marty, you want to go again?
I think my question is a perfect follow-up to what you were commenting on, and also Marla's comment as well. Jeff, we were chatting about the Cheltenham store, Cedarbrook or whatever you call that at Cheltenham Avenue, and how warm and well-received people always feel there. I've had my kids visit from other communities and stop there to pick something up. And so it speaks a lot, I think, A, to your respect for people, your embracing of community, your ability to make a multicultural environment there, multiracial, multicultural, et cetera. But I'm really always impressed with the sense of welcoming that you get in the store. And I'm interested in how you kind of make all that work and some of your staff development stuff and just the sense of pride that I see in the people that are there. It's very palpable.
I was working with my wife, Sandy. We worked together for a very long time. And in the very beginning of our business, we really struggled with this. And I kind of took a page out of missionaries. A religious missionary goes to a country and wants to build a religion, and they have a process of teaching people their ways, which in business we call it a mission. And we developed a mission at Brown's to bring joy to the lives of the people we serve. And we built out the mechanics of it. And we have a video and a training program for it. And every single employee goes through a number of hours of training, orientation and training for our mission. And I have to tell you, some people hear it and they're like, I don't want to be part of that, and they leave. And other people are like, I really want to be part of that. And so I think when you're intentional and you sort of lay out what you believe, yes, you're going to stock groceries or you're going to ring out the register, but that's not it. We're going to solve the food desert problem. We're going to give opportunities for work to people that are disenfranchised and don't get opportunities. And you're going to be working with me to help do that. We're changing the world together. That's what we're doing. Groceries are incidental. And, a lot of people want to be doing that. It gives them joy in their lives to be doing that. And that changes the whole narrative and changes the work experience and the culture. And it's synergistic, and it ends up building into something. And I think in today's very difficult work environment, it's needed to move forward. Because if all you have is a job at a marginal pay, you just can't get people to work like that. because they have choices and they just don't want to work like that anymore. And so some people are trying to do it by paying more, and we have to pay more because it's competitive, but people value these other things. They really do. I mean, we're completely unionized, and we have yet to have our first arbitration in 35 years. And we have a very, we have 2,400 positions in our company. And we've never had a strike, touch wood. And when our contracts come up and we bargain, it's never hostile. I mean, we're talking about what we want to do with the business, their circumstances and their lifestyle and what it will take, and we work cooperatively. So I think there's just a lot of benefits to changing the sort of traditional employer-employee relationship.
So we have a comment and question from Daniel from Obermeyer. He says, thanks for all you've done so far for the community. I recall with respect, Mayors Rendell and Street having a great deal of energy and being regularly out in all parts of the city, directly communicating and addressing issues. They were great cheerleaders for the city and for opportunities for job creation. Do you see yourself taking similar steps beyond those you've already taken?
Yeah, as a grocer, and some of the people in the call have worked with me, people call me. I mean, I'm on social media and I respond to everybody. And some weeks I get 1,000 messages. We have an 800 number, and employers do call me, like Marty and I got together, and they call me and they ask for help, and I get involved, and I go to all different parts of the city and I meet people. I get applicants for jobs on social media every day. So yes, from my perspective, we are the type of city that you need to be with people. You need to be in their neighborhoods. You need to learn about their culture, their religion, and that's how you bring people together. And I don't think any leader, citywide leader, could be successful in business or government or anything else they do without a good way to listen to people and learn. Because, all we know is how we grew up and our own perspective. And unless you have a process to learn and be kept up to date, you make a lot of mistakes and waste a lot of resources because you just don't understand things. And I think in the list of things I value most are the 175,000 households that shop with me, and I'm in the stores. They talk to me constantly, and I feel like I've learned so much from them about what's working and what's not working and the difficulties they're having. It's just a tremendous tool to solve problems.
May I do a follow-up on it? One comment I had made or question I had made didn't get maybe enough attention. Jeff, I know you've been very active in re-entry, and I would ask you to specifically address some of the avenues you've selected, what's worked, not worked, and how one might take advantage of the opportunities for bringing people back into the workforce from prison backgrounds.
Yeah, I'm glad to talk about it. So 20 years ago, when I opened a new store, especially in food deserts, I have a town hall meeting and community leaders come in and they're just download. They tell me a bunch of stuff. And I try to assess what I learned and do something important with it. And 20 years ago, one of the community leaders was telling me about mass incarceration. And they were worried that I could sustain my business with so many customers that have been incarcerated and thereby can't get a job again. And, some of the circumstances of incarceration are severe, that they murdered people, that they did really horrible things. Some of them were fairly minor. I mean, there are people that went to jail for an incredible long period of time for selling marijuana, which you could buy legally today. And so I started out 20 years ago hiring my first 6 returning citizens, and I have about 500 working for me today in my business, and we've helped 500 or 600 get jobs elsewhere. So I have about 1,100 experiences with it. And we've had an incredibly good outcome. And this is the essence of it. If a person is remorseful for what they did wrong in their life. That is a key first step. And the second thing is if they're ambitious. That's what we're looking for. Someone who knows they did wrong, does not want to go back to that life, and is hungry to learn and be successful. And we found that's enough. If we have those two things, we found we could train them and have a very reliable outcome. And today, of my 500 returning citizens, we must have 24 or more in management that I would put against any of my other managers with any background, college educated, not college educated, and they're just fantastic. And I just think that this is a gem of a thing, because if I didn't help these 1,100 people, they might be forced to go back to a life of crime, thereby perpetuating a cycle of just bad outcomes for our city. And I really do think, even in Center City, I really do think this is part of an employment strategy, even if it's one person that you take a personal interest in. I really do think that it's important.
Anyone else have a question or anything they'd like to add?
Jeff, how specifically are you sourcing those people for reentry?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we got very sophisticated when Uplift got into, Uplift's a nonprofit I founded, developed a reentry division. And we have now three locations, one in Enon Baptist Church in the Northwest, and we have one in Chester and one in the Allentown area. And we work directly with the prison system. We work directly with the DA, and we work with the probation officers. And so between and halfway houses, and between all those places, they know what we're looking for. And so they've been sending us people that they think are a good fit for our program, that mentioned that they'd be willing to do retail work, because a lot of our jobs are retail oriented, or logistics oriented, and they meet our criteria. And so we've worked a lot with a lot of the, believe it or not, probation officers, prison leadership, and halfway house leadership for a very long time. So we know who's trustworthy and who's not trustworthy. And we've had a really impressive outcome. So we've measured this the last 5 years from Uplift. The last 5 years, 98% of the people we work with remained out of the criminal justice system. So there's a 2% failure rate. But if you look at no intervention in general society, we're 60, 70% go back to jail. And so I'm not saying that this works without knowing how to do it. There is experience that's helpful that a lot of nonprofits like Uplift in the city do a good job with it. And that's how I would start. I'd start with one person. You'd have to brace your company for it because some people are intimidated by it. And they need to be mentored. They don't know basic things like how to dress appropriately and the importance of showing up for work on time. And they sometimes struggle to open a bank account, and they have to work out housing and transportation and daycare. And a good nonprofit will help them with all that. And when those things are worked out, I think you have a very reliable and good employee.
I think we have time for one more question. We have one. I think Brian Munley was thinking about our Sustainable Philadelphia event next week. And he asks, what sustainability has Brown Superstores pursued? And are there other projects planned for the near future?
Yeah, I haven't spoke enough about this, but I take it very seriously. I have a personal interest in it. And there's a number of interesting things we do that others can do as well. So to start out with, we have 3 facilities that are solar powered, and that's part of an equation. We started something called Philly Rescue, which was part of Uplift, that we happened to spin it off to the Share food program. But Philly Rescue picks up food from restaurants and supermarkets that is not saleable, but is still good food. And we deliver it to public housing and soup kitchens. So that all that stuff used to be thrown out before. supermarkets would throw it out. Matter of fact, in the old days, I'd have a 30-yard self-contained for one of my stores that would get picked up twice a week. And today we don't have any trash compactors. We divert most of our waste. We've diverted about 90% of our waste and don't require trash compactors any longer. And of course, our business is 100% LED lit. And so I found that LED just has such a fantastic return on investment, and it has so much less carbon and energy usage. It just makes a lot of sense to do it, especially if the bulbs burn, more than 18 hours a day. Like in our grocery business, some of our bulbs work 24 hours a day. Very, very good return. And I'm very open-minded to technologies. We're experimenting today with a lot of different technologies to try to bring down our carbon footprint. There is a new thing the city's doing, and I want to say somewhat controversial at first, but I think we'll get used to it. The city has instituted a bag ban on plastic bags. And it's not exactly the one I wish for, but I think it's a start. A lot of our litter in the city and our environmental impact it relates to the bags that you take your goods home in. And there's a ban on plastic bags. And I think what it does is it forces us to go to reusable bags. And if you use a reusable bag, you almost completely could eliminate those little brown bags and little plastic bags you see in trees. And the water department has to send guys in bungee cords to fish out the bags out of our water treatment system. So I think it's going to be a little disruption to get used to, but I envision a future in which we're going to carry our reusable bags with us, and we'll completely eliminate the single-use bags. And I think it's a good start to be a more sustainable city.
Jeff, we have a couple more questions that are coming in. Do you have time? It's just about one. Okay, I'll go quickly. Can you say more about how to translate your principles, I guess, about the businesses and employees in the center city retail and commercial environment?
Well, what's interesting is people are smart. Even people that didn't graduate high school are smart. And I think if you explain to them what you need them to be, they could be that. But you have to explain it, because like we may not be familiar with their culture, they may not be familiar with our culture. And I do recall a time when I was having trouble with our employees being a little too, for lack of a better word, street vocabulary. They used a lot of street vocabulary. And I would get customer complaints. And, we put together, and my wife Sandy helped me, we put together a training program to explain to them, in the street, you could use street vocabulary. But in the business, it's not acceptable to a lot of people. And that almost every class they laughed because they knew exactly what I was talking about. And in one session, they were able to shift to a business vocabulary. And the same thing with attire. You have to be very specific and explain the attire that's right for your business. And people can adjust. And so I think it's really, the key is communications and to lay very clear expectations. And I have found that people have a great ability to meet those expectations if they buy into the mission of the business and the work being done.
Do you have facility people in-house to care for your stores, or do you hire out contractors?
We during the day we do it ourselves, and the thing that we outsource is all the floors get scrubbed overnight, and that's outside. That's an outside contractor.
With delivering a good food operation, helping with workforce, and having added credit unions to the communities, what is the step for your continuing support to uplift the community?
So what's your next step? That's what I meant. What is your next step?
Yeah. I'll tell you the thing I'm most excited about. And it started from the PA 30-day fund. We met all these little businesses, these small emerging businesses, and a lot of them are businesses of color. And when I think about our poverty problem, what's our big problem in the city? We have a violence problem, but it's really, we have a poverty problem, a structural poverty problem. that people that are in poverty, it's hereditary almost. Your kids are going to be in poverty. That is unacceptable. And that really is why we have a violence problem. And so I think entrepreneurs of color are part of the answer. We have an anemic amount of entrepreneurship in communities of color, and I think we need to change that. We all need to benefit from the structure of our society. It can't just be one race or one religion. And so from the PA 30-Day Fund, we met all these small businesses, and we started a small business incubator where we brought experts together, and they come in, and we don't charge anything and we don't get anything. We're just free help. And they come in and they explain to us what they're trying to do, and our experts advise them on how to be successful. And I could see the 150 businesses we have growing into many thousands of businesses. And of course, these are food businesses or retail products that they make, but other people on this call could do that in their industry. I mean, we could help emerging entrepreneurs of color develop their businesses, just like we can help them develop as executives for us. And I think if as a society, we had more broad success, I think we would eliminate the vast majority of the problems we have. And I want to be a major part of doing that. So I'm very, very, very excited. And if you follow my social media, I am always on there with an entrepreneur, usually of color, and getting them to explain what they're trying to do. And then what we do is we have them do pop-ups in our store to see what the consumers think. And then we take that feedback and help them refine their business. I think this would be very helpful for changing our poverty narrative.
Well, I hope we can have you back before another 3 years. Maybe that was too long. This would be a good time to end. I want to keep everybody on schedule. So thanks, Jeff, for doing this for us and spending the time with us. And I just want to thank everybody for coming. Yeah, I guess that's one thing we still miss is the clapping.
Well, and also the steak. I got a steak last time.
That's true.
And Ben, if you guys could use connections to the resources I spoke about, I'm happy to work with you offline and make introductions or website links or other things available, or our mission video or anything else I could do to be helpful to move our business community forward.
That would be awesome.
Sounds great.
Thank you for having me.
We can put stuff in our newsletter as well. So everybody, thank you again, and thanks for coming. Megan and I will hang out a little bit if anybody wants to say hi or get to know each other. But thank you, everybody.